What's up, team? It's just me today. No Jack, no JP. I am joined by Tucker Medlin. We've had him on the show a couple times. We call him our baseball and Mississippi State correspondent and a source when he is not a source. He's just a fan like us, but it's a great joke we've got. Tucker, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today, Sanders. How are you?
I'm great. Ready to talk Tony Vitello. I didn't want to get into it until it was officially announced. I didn't want to jump the gun there because it got leaked a little bit early before it was official, and all the signs pointed to it happening. But the longer and longer it went, I was a little bit nervous about getting on it too early.
I was too. It seemed like there was a moment there earlier this week where I really thought he was going to stay at Tennessee.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I
if
100%
I was in
agree.
that situation, I would have definitely done the same thing. It just being a baseball manager is a 7-month-a-year job,
Yeah.
whereas being a college baseball coach is a 12-month, 24/7 job.
Yeah. And I think that like the longer and longer it went, and that was all the reports, so this is not like an original thought, but like it did feel like the longer it went, that he was going to get cold feet and kind of back out of it and just stay where he was comfortable. So I was honestly surprised to see it confirmed that he actually is going.
For sure. I think one thing not that I know Tony Vitello, but it seems like even if this doesn't work out for him, he's going to have his pick of jobs
Yeah,
if it doesn't work out and he wants to come back to college baseball.
for sure.
So there was almost no risk for him.
For sure. And I've seen people compare him, like they expect him to be like Nick Saban, who won that championship at LSU, goes to Miami, and then fails, falls flat, and then comes back to Alabama and just has a dominant run. I know Arkansas fans are already all over that, saying that he's going to be their head coach in like 4 years. I don't particularly see that happening, but that's 4 years from now. We're going to talk specifically today what this means for Tennessee as far as who their coach will be this year, who their coach will be going forward, what this means for their recruiting, for their roster right now. But let's just start off first with the coaching. I saw that the AD announced that they've promoted one of their coaches as the interim, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Who was that?
That was Frank Anderson, their pitching coach. He's a little on the older side.
Yeah.
I think he's had his chance as a head coach before and has kind of said he doesn't really want to do that. So I think this is more of this is a guy to get us through this year, and then we will make a hire with the full pool of candidates available, because there are definitely going to be some guys that they could get that are just not interested in leaving at the end of October for
Yeah.
a new job.
Yeah, for sure. That was the thing. I kind of expected them to go straight for Josh Elander because that's a guy that we talked about for the Mississippi State coaching search. He's had a lot of success with Tennessee. He's followed Vitello. He played for Vitello at TCU, coached with him at Arkansas, and then has coached him with Tennessee at Tennessee for the past 8 years. Been to a lot of World Series. He's a great recruiter, and I really thought that he would at least get the interim job, and then they might look to like make it full-time next year. Or so you don't think they'll be going full-time search now? They'll be waiting for a season?
I think so. I think if they were to try to hire one of these, I'll put in quotes, big time coaches, like Cliff Godwin is a name that I've seen thrown around there that has a really good thing going at ECU.
Yeah.
And there were some times before Chris Lemonis was fired where I thought he might be a candidate in Mississippi State. Like really good coach and built a really solid program. I don't think that guy is going to leave right now for a job like Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to dip into a lower pool if you really want to hire someone before the 2026 season. So I think they're going to just run it out.
Yeah.
Which leads to I wanted to mention, maybe does it feel like to you, Sanders, that making Frank Anderson the interim is kind of a message that Josh Elander is not going to be the full-time guy?
I don't know that. I would say it might feel more like they don't want to tie themselves to Elander, because I think if you make Elander the interim, you're kind of forcing yourself to make him the full-time head coach or lose him, given the interest around him from programs. Like I said, from state, we talked about it a lot. I think that it might be trying to leave more opportunities for yourself so that you can do that full search. You can check out head coaches at smaller programs, even larger programs. Tennessee has put themselves in a position where they might be able to go and get a head coach from a larger program, not just go down to like the smaller schools. But I think that if you make Elander, the interim, I think you kind of tie yourself up there and you end up not being able to look at those other opportunities as much.
That's fair. Just to me, if you Elander has been there for 8 years now, somewhere between
Yeah,
7 and 9 years.
it's 8 because I think he came with Vitello, and I think Vitello just finished his 8th year or was going in. It's
Okay.
7 or 8.
Yes, that sounds right. What do you not know about him after 8 years that you're going to learn about him by June of 2026? Like, I just feel like if he's your guy, you go ahead and make him the guy. And maybe you sign him to a contract like State did with Zach Arnett, where it's on year one, it's a contract that you can get out of really easily if you both realize that this is not working and you can shake hands and someone's going to hire that guy really quickly to be a hitting coach if it doesn't work out as a head
Yeah.
coach. Uh, but by making him the interim, it just seems to me like they are not going to go with Elander if they play this whole year out with Frank Anderson. I feel like if I was Elander, I would be pretty miffed by that. Like, just make me the full-time guy, or if you're not going to, then I'm just going to go ahead and look for other opportunities because those are definitely going to be there for him come next June.
Yeah, and if they don't if he stays the interim and they go into the full head coaching search next year after the 2026 season, his name will still very very much be like in the hat for that job, and I don't see him like if they do end up saying, all right, we had the interim manage it for a year, now we're looking to you, I don't think he's going to turn down that job and be like, no, you didn't want me for 2025, so I'm out. Like, that's still a really good opportunity. The recruiting, the talent at Tennessee, the fan interest, the fan hype is there, the energy is there. It's one of the the fan base right there right now. It might be at a tipping point where if they get the right guy and they have a good season this year, like it continues to be really energetic and fans are showing up. But if they have a bad year or two, I don't know if they've got the sustained success to like hold on to the majority of those fan bases or the majority of the fan in that fan base. And I'm not calling Tennessee fair weather fans, but they are a young baseball fan base.
We'll call them fair weather fans for you, Sanders. They weren't here before Tony Vitello. I think Tennessee really needs to make a good hire and get them through these next couple years, keep the fan base.
Yeah.
I think once you get through a couple coaches, that's when the fan base is solidified.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because Tennessee has only been what they are now since 2021 was really the first year, and then 2022 they really burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
So like you say, like there aren't high schoolers or college kids that have grown up with Tennessee baseball being this big deal.
Yeah.
So they need to last a little bit longer, really build a little bit more consistent success to keep that fan base around. I think it would be if they have a year like Texas A&M had last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be really easy for a lot of fans to say, "Oh well, that was a Tony Vitello thing. Right back to where we were. By the way, Rick Barnes just got this new 5-star. Let's go watch basketball."
Yeah. And they I don't want to also take away I didn't realize Tennessee baseball, they've never won a World Series until 2024. But I mean in the 90s and early 2000s they had a little bit of success. But the thing about baseball and sports in general, I was actually talking with Jack about this. I don't know if it was on the show, but definitely off the show, about how hard it is to break onto the scene, to enter the scene in any sport. My go-to example is football. You think about teams like Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. These teams have always been good and will always be good. It's really hard. Like Kurt Signetti at Indiana, he might come in and be able to win a lot of games, might even compete for national championship, but I don't think Indiana is going to be a football school going forward. You look at other schools who have had good years. TCU makes it to the playoff in 2014. They made it again in 2019. They've had a couple good years. TCU is not a football school. They're not a blue blood. It's really hard to assert yourself as a blue blood, which is I think Tennessee right now is playing or has been playing like that, winning the World Series 2 years ago. But I don't think that they're going to be able to assert themselves as a blue blood. That's just so hard to do if you haven't always been good.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to kind of, like I said, prove it a little more. I mean, kind of what I think about is when you talk about asserting yourself as a blue blood, when you talk about recruiting, as good as Indiana has been, how many guys are choosing Indiana over Ohio State? in a recruiting battle if they have an option to go to both.
Yeah.
Like some guys probably are, but probably not on a consistent basis. Whereas, I mean, Tennessee beat out Mississippi State for a couple Virginia transfers this past cycle, and that's
Yeah.
how fast Tony Vitello was able to get that up and running. I think it's really on Tennessee now, on Danny White and those guys that are over there, and whoever becomes the full-time head coach, that you've got to keep that going, because it's going to be really easy to say, that was one thing, that was a moment in time, versus this is who Tennessee is now. The same thing's happening at Auburn basketball.
Yeah.
Auburn really has to prove that this is who Auburn is, and that's not just what Bruce Pearl was.
Yeah. You have to really like kind of establish yourself across multiple coaches, like Alabama has done, like Ohio State has done, Michigan, all those blue bloods, Florida baseball, LSU baseball, Mississippi State baseball. Like that's you really have to do it across multiple coaches, because then that's when the program is a winner, and it's not just the coach was a winner.
Yep, absolutely. I think I've said a lot just in conversations and stuff, like no recruit is bigger than the program. And then there was a lot of talk as we were getting towards the end of the Chris Lemonis era. It's like, this coach isn't bigger than the program, even though he was involved in doing what no one else had ever done. Tennessee has to prove that the program's bigger than Tony Vitello.
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting to watch over the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Do we want to get in? So for the Mississippi State job, you had like a list of coaches on your board. Do you have a list of coaches for Tennessee?
I don't necessarily have a list per se, but I feel like we can talk about a few names that have kind of been thrown out there.
Cool.
With this job, this isn't going to if we assume that they're not going to make a hire until May or June of 2026, I think that they're just starting to get candidates together. But I think we can talk about some names that they'll probably be hiring from this neighborhood of coaches.
Cool.
One that I saw really early, and we talked about him for the Mississippi State job, was Mark Wazakowski at Oregon, who's built a really solid program out of Oregon. And he is part of this. I think Tennessee would be smart to hire from guys that have built really solid programs at places that aren't necessarily used to winning in baseball, but have clearly not been able to get over the hump.
Yeah.
And I think Tennessee, as much as we kind of just dumped on their program a little bit a few minutes ago, has proven that they can get over the hump. You can win a national championship in Knoxville. You can get to Omaha in Knoxville. You can get to Omaha consistently in Knoxville when you have it running right.
Yeah.
And so Mark Wazakowski would be a guy that I would look at if I was Tennessee, and it seems like they are. We mentioned Cliff Godwin at East Carolina. He's another one that he coached under Mike Bianco at Ole Miss.
Okay.
And then he is an ECU alum, so that'll be tough to get over. But he's been at ECU for a long time. He's gotten really close to Omaha a lot.
Yeah.
And so you just wonder, especially now in the NIL era, does he just throw his hands up and say, if I haven't been able to do it by now, it's just not going to happen here. And try to take on a different challenge in a different league in the SEC. Those are a couple that have stuck out to me early.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like we've talked about Josh Elander a lot. If I was Tennessee, I would have already made Josh Elander the head coach.
Yeah. I feel like we've been pretty adamant about that, so we don't have to discuss that anymore. I like what you said about going and getting coaches at programs that haven't historically been good, because I think that's something that's really important. I think Tennessee fans might be over expecting, or putting too much. They believe I don't know what the word is, and I know there is a word. They think too highly of the Tennessee program. They think it's a top 5 job, a top 3 job, when it really isn't. And I think that's kind of why you're not going to be able to do, I don't think, what State was able to do and go take Brian O'Connor from UVA. I don't think you're going to be able to go out and get like a guy with a championship. That would be really, really hard to do, I think, for Tennessee. I don't think that the program is there as far as like historical success, and I think that plays a big part in being able to lure a coach away from a proven winner when he's got a championship already.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing to think about is at Tennessee, absolutely number 3 in the pecking order, if not number 4, behind football, men's basketball, and maybe women's basketball
Yeah.
at Tennessee. And that's not a slight at Tennessee baseball. That's just how important women's basketball is at Tennessee. Um, and some coaches like that. I think college baseball is unique in that a lot of these coaches really like operating outside of the spotlight.
Yeah.
Um, but Tennessee is such an interesting place because there is still a huge spotlight on Tennessee baseball. Whenever they do anything, it's tweeted on the SEC official account, it feels like.
Yeah, I wonder
You
if
know,
that's a Vitello thing or if that's a Tennessee thing, because Vitello feels like very much a spotlight guy, and it worked for him. Like it's not a criticism of him because he managed to harness it kind of in a Lane Kiffin way, of just like a little eccentric maybe. I don't know, just some of his mannerisms on the field and the team and the culture there was a little, just not like your typical head coach. But it definitely worked for him. So I do see like why other coaches might not be as interested if that's what they want or if that's how they want to run their team and live in that same spotlight.
yeah, for sure. But Tony Vitello had to create a fan base out of almost nothing
Yeah,
for Tennessee baseball. And part of the way that they played that attracted so many eyeballs was part of how he did that. Now that they have a fan base and they're more focused on just keeping it, I wonder if the next coach comes in and says, we don't want to be quite as brash. We don't want to be as out there as we were, and just want to kind of a little more in the, I'm trying to think of a program that would be like this. Um, I don't know. I can't think of one right now, but just kind of like go along. Maybe Arkansas is the right one. Just kind of like go along, do your business, and win games.
I was gonna maybe even like a Coastal Carolina. Um,
Yeah,
they're
I
even
think that'd be
a
a good.
smaller program, not as much in the spotlight, but consistently winning across multiple head coaches. I mean, they were in Omaha this last year, so I could see that being a great
Yeah,
example of like a less in the spotlight program.
that's a guy I would call too.
Yeah,
That's a good. I'm glad you brought him up because last year I think was his first year
I think
as the
so.
head coach at
Yeah,
Coastal Carolina. So if they're able to recreate at all, I'm not saying get to the College World Series finals, but have another successful year at Coastal, maybe that's a guy that you see kind of on the come up. You grab him while he's young, and
yeah.
maybe he is a little more. I don't want to say more invested in staying at Tennessee. I think Tony Vitello was invested in staying at Tennessee, but just had a once in a lifetime opportunity come up. So
Yeah.
probably maybe a guy that doesn't get that phone call from the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, and I think it's also you go get him before he becomes invested in staying at Coastal Carolina. Just because Coastal Carolina has got that championship in the 2010s, they've got another. They just had that World Series appearance. If they get back, it almost becomes an issue of like, well, now you have to go take him away from a winner, right? I mean, think about like, I think it's the Dallas Baptist head coach who's like been on hot boards for forever, but just doesn't want to leave because he likes it there and he can win. Is that right?
Right, exactly.
And so
Yes, yeah, that's him.
you want to get to that Coastal Carolina head coach before he realizes that he doesn't need to leave if he wants to win.
Yep, absolutely.
So, so let's move on. That's actually real quick. I wanted to also address. You mentioned if you're at Tennessee, you are like third, maybe fourth in the pecking order in Tennessee. It's also, I mean, college baseball. I said earlier, where would you rank Tennessee in the jobs in college baseball? If you had to think off the top of your head, because that kind of impacts who you're able to get, who you're able to steal a coach from. Where do you think they fall in like the college baseball pecking order as far as jobs go?
I would say it's somewhere right now. I would say it's somewhere between 8 and 15.
Okay,
Feels right.
I was gonna say 10 and
Um,
15, so I think we're about on the same page.
yeah, if every job in the country came open, I don't think they're ahead of LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I'm not
Vanderbilt,
sure they're not ahead of Texas, Vandy,
Florida State,
Texas A&M, Florida State, Florida. It's
Oregon
really
State,
easy to run
maybe.
off a lot of names.
Yeah,
Maybe I think Oregon State requires a specific you have to want to be the coach at Oregon State.
yeah,
Um, so that's just in a completely different region of the country. They're almost like pulling from a different candidate pool. But
yeah.
yeah, that's another really good one. Um,
So we're on the same page.
so
They're in that like 8 to 15, 10 to 15.
right, yep. I agree. I think of the schools that are committed to winning at baseball, they are in the middle to bottom of that pack of
Yeah.
teams. Um, but they could, 5 years from now, they could rise up in that, or they could, if they don't get this hire right, they could fall back to Alabama and Auburn
Yeah.
uh, level of like, well, we just play baseball and we're pretty good at it because we're in the SEC.
Yeah. I think one of the sad things is apparently not the rumors, some of the accusations and some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter is that a lot of fans are mad with the AD, feeling like he ran Vitello out of town. As a State fan, I can kind of relate to that. Our former head coach running off Vic Schaefer, that it really, like, I can relate to that. And I know you're not a Tennessee fan, so I don't know if you're willing to admit that you can relate, but if that's really what happened, and if we look back in a couple of years and Vitello, has an interview or talks about how much he misses Knoxville, like, I think Tennessee fans would be really, really mad. It would suck for them.
Um, I think I could see there being some tension because Tony Vitello is not a guy that's going to take a back seat to anyone.
Yeah,
And so if you're not getting the money that you think you deserve, I understand that, but it's also the athletic director's job to kind of draw a line in the sand.
yeah,
It would make more sense. I would feel worse if last year he left for Texas.
yeah,
Then I'd be like, man, that really stinks because he built you guys up to this and then left for another college job, kind of like Vic Schaefer did.
yeah,
But when he leaves for the pros, I think it's hard to say, well, he only left because he didn't like the AD.
yeah. That's fair.
He left for a once in a lifetime opportunity. I
Yeah,
mean, he's doing something no one has ever done before. He
yeah,
got a chance to make history.
yeah. I did not realize that. So he's the first college head coach to go straight to managing in the majors. Is that right?
With no pro experience.
Right,
I think there
right.
have been one or two times, or maybe one time, where a guy went straight from college to the pros, but he already had some pro managerial experience.
Yeah, that is crazy. And that's like, being a football fan, the minors is not a thing in football. And so guys make the jump all the time. So it's definitely weird that this is like the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah,
Let's
for sure. I mean, a decade ago, he was the hitting coach at Arkansas,
Yeah.
and now he's the manager of the San Francisco Giants. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Let's talk talent recruiting a little bit, because one thing, the minute it was announced, every large team, and because I'm a State fan, all of the State fans on my Twitter were like talking about Henry Ford and how he was going to be a Bulldog and all these Tennessee transfers. I'm sure you've seen that if players transfer from Tennessee, they have to sit out a year. What are your expectations? I know what I expect. I don't expect any transfers out of Tennessee. What do you think will be the movement out of or into that program before the start of 2026?
Yeah, I agree. I don't expect any transfers. I think on the recruiting and player acquisition front, what's going to be interesting is to watch the high school recruits for 2026 and 2027. Tennessee, I think especially in 27, had gotten off to a really good start building their high school class, and
It's
so
second right now.
I don't think it. Okay, yeah.
They got
So I don't
9
think
top
anything
100
is like
players.
imminent, right? Especially if you're a 2027 guy, I think it makes sense to see who they hire before you start blowing up your recruitment and stuff.
Yeah,
But I think it's going to be interesting as they go through the coaching search process. Do those guys become available? And then, how does that go?
yeah,
I think that's where you'll see a lot more of the recruiting. I don't want to say nonsense, but recruiting shuffling happening is those high school guys.
yeah. I just don't expect any players on the team. They've only got one graduate transfer, so he'd be the only one eligible to play in 2026, so this next season. And I don't see anyone else on that roster who's going to want to lose a year redshirting or sitting out a season. It just doesn't make sense, because if you're good enough to like transfer out without anyone having seen tape, then you're going to be good enough to get drafted. There's no reason to waste a year. Just play at Tennessee for a year. And then if you're not good enough that someone's going to want to recruit you without having seen you play, then you're going to need to play to kind of to prove that and create value for yourself in the portal if you want to transfer next year. So it really doesn't make sense for any. Like I said, there's only the one graduate transfer, a pitcher. He's played at a couple programs, played at William & Mary and then Duke for a year. This was going to be his first year at Tennessee. So depending on how much the Vitello was involved in his recruitment, could see him leave if he decides he doesn't want to spend his last year at Tennessee. But I don't really expect that to happen. I mean, they're going to win this year in all likelihood. So why would you not want to be a part of that?
Yep. I agree. It doesn't make sense to leave if you know you're not going to play this year.
Yeah.
Might as well just stay, play there, and then if you want to leave, then you can.
Yeah. That's kind of all the stuff I had to talk about. I don't know if you have any other thoughts about it. Expectations for him at San Francisco. I mean, I'm not the biggest MLB guy, but it's never been done before. I don't know what you expect from him there. If you want to talk about that, or we can, wrap it up.
I don't really know what to think about him in San Francisco. Like, he's a winner.
Yeah.
So I could see it going really, really, really well. I could also see it just going terribly because you're not really coaching guys. I mean, it's called a manager, not a head coach, for a reason.
Yeah.
You're not really managing. You're just kind of keeping the locker room together, setting lineup cards, making pitching changes, that kind of stuff. It's a very different job, but I would not be surprised if he does really well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a head coach in the SEC by 2030.
Yeah. So basically, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll just be okay, though. I think it's either going to be really good or really bad.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about baseball, and you kind of see it in the movement of players. Before I found out that players were going to have to sit out a year, I really thought that we were going to see a lot of guys leave because baseball is one of the easiest sports, in my opinion, to change teams, just because each player is kind of on an island. If you can hit well for Tennessee, you can hit well anywhere. If you can play shortstop well at Tennessee, you can play shortstop well anywhere. There's a lot less chemistry needed. And so I think that makes managing a baseball team a lot easier. You go get the guys that are really good, which is, it's not easy. The Dodgers are the only ones that can go get whatever guy they want. But it does make managing very different. Recruiting is not really a thing as much. I mean, I guess you're trying to get guys to like the city, to like the team, to like you, to pick your contract over another contract, but it's just not the same at all.
Right, and that's really the GM's job more than it is the manager. So
yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, that was really fun. We thought it would last, we said 3 hours of recording, and then if we edited it down, it'd be like 15 minutes of content. I think we did 28 minutes of recording, and once I clip out my first little mistake at the end, it'll be like 27 minutes. So that was pretty fun.
We kept the conversation outside of Mississippi State, and that was why we were able to keep it short.
I mean, we referenced them a couple times, but I think it was only references. We didn't get into any deep stuff. Thank goodness. Yeah, with this, I'm not gonna. Nope, I was about to sidetrack us and start talking about this weekend against Texas. It's not gonna happen. We'll text about that later. But for those of y'all watching, like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. It's really fun having like a platform that I get to talk about. Me, Jack, JP, Tucker gets pulled in every once in a while. Talk about whatever sports we want to. We love it, and we hope you enjoy it. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I do have a quick shout out.
Oh, do it.
Sorry. So tonight, if you're in Northwest Alabama, go to Hartselle, Alabama, Class 6A Region 7 championship game, Muscle Shoals and Hartselle. Big game. On the map, they call it Muscle Shoals. The locals call it Mush Shoals, but I just call it God's country. Go Trojans. We're going to get the win. All right, that's it.
All right, well, now I got to go be sure I get this video out as soon as possible. So with that being said, we will see y'all in the next one. Peace.